The 3D manipulator is something that you'll find in every single 3D application out there, and Hexagon is no different. Hexagon has got the standard translation as found up the top left here. It's got the standard rotation that you would find in all applications, often also called the gyro, and it's also got this scale manipulator as well. However, in addition to this, it's got what's called the universal manipulator, where it's actually got translation, rotation and scale all within one tool handle set. In addition to this, you can see here we've got this hide manipulators, which will hide them if you're doing some kind of other work on your model, like sculpting or tweaking. You can use a space key to also activate and deactivate this. Going back to the initial translate manipulator, you can see that you've got these arrows that are pointing in different directions. These arrows are color coded and they're also given a specific title to them, which is X, Y and Z. And also there to do with the direction in which the coordinates are used within Hexagon. These coordinates for X, Y and Z are to let you know exactly what direction you're editing and moving objects or parts of objects in. As an example, this blue one indicates the Z for the depth. We've got Y for the up and down movement, and we've obviously got the X for the left and right movement. Now when you rotate it around in the 3D world, this coordinate system does not change. It remains the same, so you know where you are exactly in relation to 3D space and your model. As an example, this is still the depth, this is still the movement for the up and down, and this is the still movement for the left and right. So by going back to here again, you know that you're actually looking at your model from the front. In addition to this, should you get lost, you can also go to the quad viewport here, and then you can see the manipulators only showing certain handles. This is because these views are locked to a specific angle, i.e. the top, the front or the right. So as mentioned, if I wanted to move between, say, these two axes, which is the Y and the X, I can click on this tool handle here and I can move between these two without moving in this direction. Moving on to the gyro, this works in a very similar fashion, only that you actually got these rotational handles here. You can click on these and rotate in the degree angles that you wish. Also notice to the side here in your properties view, it shows you exactly how many degrees and angle that you're actually rotating in. By holding down the shift key, you're able to lock to a specific rotational axis. So you can see we can start from a 90 degree, 45, and we've got the other degree angle from the 90 degree as well. So we can jump in increments of 45 degrees to form a 360 degree complete turn. Now in addition to these particular X, Y and Z rotations, you can also see this other outline here, which is like yellow. And what this does is enables you to rotate according to the view that you're looking at, rather than the well coordinate system, which is the X, Y and Z. So let's say for instance I'm looking at this view here. Well, I can rotate according to that view angle. I'm going to be explaining a little bit more in depth about this well coordinate system and about the actual orientations, what we can do within Hexagon. But for now we're just looking at these basics of the manipulator tools. Moving on to the scale. This works in a very similar fashion, only the scale has given us quite a lot of options here. As an example, if we were to click on this blue handle here, we can scale in the Z axis, and notice that it scales both one side and the other, so it's equally scaling both sides. However, You can also see these pink handles at the end. This means that we can scale just specifically in this direction from this particular side of the object. And it works exactly the same for these other pink handles that you can see. We can just move up the top part of this object, whereas the green handle will scale in both directions. In addition, just like we had the normal translation manipulator tool, we can actually scale in a specific orientation between two axes. And finally, we can also scale uniformly, which means it's not going to change the shape. You can see here that we scale up. It's going to scale it according to its specific shape in all different orientations of the axis. So you can see here that we've actually maintained this particular shape. Finally, moving on to the Universal Manipulator tool, which is the U key, we've got a combination of the essential tools all put into one. So we've got the scaling and the global universal sort of like uniform scaling, and of course we've got the manipulator tools in between the axes as well. In addition to this, you can see these little tiny handles that we can click on and rotate as well. And just to mention that all of these manipulations can be used in conjunction with the Shift key to help us lock to a specific axis other than the translation, because you'll get this funny movement going on here because it's got nothing to lock to. So this would be if we wanted to rotate, say, 90 degrees, we can hold the Shift key and it will help us lock to that 90 degrees.